Hey there and welcome. This is just a quick little overview of latest design here. This one's called Grid. It's another Photoshop template design for you sports and volume photographers out there looking to simplify your workflow but still have some cool graphics to make some nice products for your customers. So this is just a quick overview of the layer options in here again, just so you can see how easily this is set up and to manipulate. So let's just start at the top as we do and work our way down. So if you're familiar with my designs and templates, you're going to know that we're going to start right at the top with our color grading layers. So these are designed to add some color and contrast, some punchiness back into this overall image. So this is a group containing 3 different color grading layers, which can be turned on or off. You could change opacities on these if you wanted to create a little bit of variation in how much of that effect that you'd like to see applied. Below that are our facial highlight layers. Again, I like to use those to draw out attention to the subject's faces because, again, these are portraits, so we do want the face to be the center of attention. And I use that to brighten those facial highlights. We'll take a look at that when we put a subject in here. Below that, we've got a couple layers clipped together, which is the lower smoke portion. So this is your foreground atmosphere that's going to go over top of the subject to help them feel like they're part of the environment here. And then we have a coloring layer clipped to this, which is just a hue, saturation, lightness layer. So we can click on this thumbnail and that will give us our HSL controls to move these colors around on this smoke as needed. And again, you could always sample a color, use a site like hslpicker.com to use that sample color to find your HSL values if needed. So that is our lower smoke. Below that we have a lower glow, which is just going to glow up from the bottom over the subject, and also HSL attached to that as well to change the color of that. Below that we have our subject group. So you're always going to see the subject group for my designs marked in red. And we got a couple layers attached to that, which are do some darkening and some color cast, which we'll take a look at as soon as we turn our subject on. Below that we have a couple of text groups. So we have this one that's for straight text and one for angled text. So you're going to see for this particular background option where the lines are angled, that the angled text lines up here with this grid in this way. And of course you can expand this group, modify each of these text elements, turn them on or off, move them around as needed. But you're going to see that the text group itself is where the effects are applied. So these effects are getting applied across this text as a whole. So for instance, you can see on this color gradient, if I turn it on and off on the group, how it grades across even this year here up into the text as it fades out. And so if you wanted to change the color of that gradient, you just click on the gradient overlay. It's going to take you into the layer style here, and we would just click on our gradient, and then here's our colors in the gradient, which is set to this blue. So if we wanted to change this, we could just click on this first color here, come down to our color. We could change that, say we want to make it green. And you're going to find that this first one, this first tab here, is going to provide the majority of the effect across this. Okay, but you can come over and click these others and make those same changes back here to change that up just a little bit more. And you could change all these. You probably won't ever have to change this last one, but depending on the size of your text, where you placed it, things like that, you may need to change all of those to get that gradient there smoothly. Now you could always move these sliders around if you wanted to change how much of that gradient is showing up. This is your opacity for the gradient, so you could click to turn that on or off. You could move that around, and again, that would just customize that gradient on the text there. Okay, so let's cancel out of that and that. Turn our text back off for now. Now we have our background color cast. So this is what's giving the color to all of the background layers, which again is a HSL layer. So that can be pushed around as so by using the hue slider. Below that we have some upper smoke that can be turned on or off if you wanted to vary that look. And then below that we have a couple of different grid options. So the angled is turned on currently. If we turn that off, we can turn on the straight one. So they both give a couple really cool but different looks to this design. So straight grid, angled grid, and I really like both of those, so I wanted to make sure they were both in there as options. So you can see, very straightforward on the design, but let's throw a subject in here and take a look at what that's going to look like. So let's open up our subject group here, and I've got a subject dropped in here. We're just going to turn this guy on. So it's just, you know, as easy as dragging and dropping your subject in and resizing, or you could automate this with different software as well. But we've got our subject on. He's wearing red, so let's match our template up here just to show how easily and quickly this can be done to match everything. So what I'm going to do is just start with the background layer. So we're going to go to our background color cast. I'm going to come up here to our properties, and I'm just going to move this slider over to red. And I might put just a touch of orange, a little bit of just a very slight red orange. I think looks a little bit better there. Alright, so that's going to take care of that. We can decide if we want our background or our upper smoke on or off. I think I'm going to leave it on. So then we're going to come on up here now to our foreground. So this is our darkening that's happening on our subject here. And for this one where he's got the lighter pants, I think it looks good where it's at. But again, you could change the opacity of this. And it is a curve, so you could change that curve value by pulling this in or out. If you wanted that even darker, which I think looks pretty good, we could pull that curve down. But then we have some color casting on our subject. So instead of blue, let's double click here. We're going to move this up into the red. Alright, that looks good. So we can see if we turn this on or off, it's just creating a color cast on the lower part of our subject, again, to make them feel like they match the environment. Our lower glow, we're going to come up to our hue saturation that's attached to that. Also move that over to that red section. There we go. And then lastly, our lower smoke is also going to get that same setting there on the hue. You could actually turn that off if you wanted that smoke to be white, which can look pretty cool as well. I'm going to leave it with some color cast there on the red. And then the last thing would be if you wanted some text on here. So we could turn our angled text on. Let's expand this group. And again, it's just normal text. So if we wanted to change his first name, we could just, you know, double click on either the first or the last name and just type. All right, and then apply this. There's the new first name. And then for the color, again, we're going to come up to the effects that's clipped to the group. Let's double click on the gradient. We'll click in here. I'm going to select this first one, pick my color, and I'm just going to grab a jersey color here and click OK. All right, so that gives me red across there, so I'm just going to say OK and leave it right as is like that. And then if you wanted to change the main color of the body of the text, you know, that's just set in your normal text settings as usual. So if you wanted to bring that up to white or a version of red, you could do that as well, just by simply picking whatever color you like, clicking OK. So again, if we wanted to switch over to the straight grid, we would turn the angled off, switch that to straight. I could turn the angled text off, switch that to straight, and same thing, just modify my colors and text to match. So pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Let's pick that red there. Okay, okay. And you can see how quickly that can be done. And then you just drop all your subjects in from the same team, or you could use this for seniors or anything that you like, and really easily customize this for the colors and things that you need. And then lastly, what I want to do once our subject is placed and I got my colors set, is I come back up here to our facial highlights. You see there's two layers. One is kind of preset for lighter skin tones, one for darker skin tones. So I'm just going to pick the layer for the lighter skin tones. I'm going to click on the mask. You'll see right here, paint on mask with white as needed. So I'm going to grab a white brush. Let's bring my size down on my brush a little bit. And then I'm just going to use that to kind of paint over and bring out those highlights on the subject's face a little bit. So we can see if we turn that on and off, again, how their face just kind of pops out off of that background a little bit more. And again, you could change opacity on this. If it's a little too strong for your taste, you can bring that down. You can also double click on this because this is a solid color fill layer. So if you didn't want any color cast or color variation, you could bring that more on white, or you could bring it over if you wanted to add more color in. But again, it's very easy to add just a little bit of color into the skin tone there as needed. So let's click OK. And so that gives us just that little bit of boost there in the skin tone. So I hope you get a lot of use out of this, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.